everyone. Welcome back to Exploring the Coast with Hannah. You may have noticed that we did not have an episode last week. That's because we are shifting gears into summer, and Exploring the Coast with Hannah will now drop every other Tuesday at 11 a.m. on the Museum to You page. We are going to be starting a 4-part climate change series on how climate change is affecting rocky intertidal habitats. On this week's episode, we're going to be looking at rising sea surface temperatures and southern species migration. Let's go.
So what does the term climate change actually mean? Climate change refers to significant changes in global temperature, precipitation, wind patterns, and other measures of climate that occur over several decades or longer. The terms weather and climate are often used interchangeably, but are actually quite different. Weather refers to day-to-day temperature and precipitation activity in a specific location. However, climate refers to weather conditions in an entire region for a very long time, normally 30 years or more. Many of you have probably wondered, what does the term global warming mean as well? Global warming refers to the recent and ongoing rise in global average temperature near Earth's surface. It is caused mostly by increasing concentrations of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. The ocean plays a critical role in carbon storage. It absorbs 90% of the excess heat produced on Earth. Two-way carbon exchange can occur quickly between the ocean's surface waters and the atmosphere, but carbon may be stored for centuries at the deepest ocean depths. Normal amounts of carbon dioxide are emitted into the atmosphere from plants and animals. However, when fossil fuels are burned by humans from power plants, factories, trucks, and cars, more carbon is emitted into the atmosphere and is absorbed mostly by the ocean. Since carbon dioxide is a heat-trapping greenhouse gas, it causes sea surface temperatures to rise. So, what is sea surface temperature? Sea surface temperature is defined as the skin temperature of the ocean surface water. It is also a strong indicator of productivity, pollution, and global climate change. In the past, scientists used ships, buoys, and shoreline instruments to measure sea surface temperatures. Now, scientists use what is called a radiometer. Radiometers are used to collect surface temperature data and ocean color data. It measures the amount of the sun's visible light and infrared radiation reflected off the ocean. The photo shown on the left is the coastal zone color scanner. It was a multi-channel scanning radiometer that flew on the Nimbus 7 satellite operating from 1978 to 1986. This scanner provided the first space-based measurements of ocean properties on a global scale. Here is a graph showing the average global sea surface temperature starting from 1880 and ending in 2015. According to the graph, the average global sea surface temperature has increased approximately 1.5 degrees Fahrenheit since 1901. This equals an average rate of 0.13 degrees Fahrenheit per decade, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Right here in Pacific Grove, the sea surface temperature has increased at a rate of 0.2 degrees Fahrenheit per decade between the years 1920 and 2014. Climate has always had a large impact on rocky intertidal ecosystems. Long-term data has proven that species abundance and richness has changed since the early 1930s to present day here in Monterey Bay. Several common southern species that were rare or absent in the 1930s are now abundant here. As sea surface temperatures rise, southern intertidal species are slowly migrating north to central and north coast areas. These include Sunburst Anemone, giant green anemone, pink acorn barnacle, and the Hopkins rose nudibranch. Monterey Bay is a key transition zone for the northern and southern geographic limit for many intertidal species, and are used as indicator species to climate change. The Sunburst Anemone is a southern species whose northern limit used to be Bodega Bay, but now you can find the Sunburst Anemone up to 165 miles north of Bodega Bay, all the way up to Bruhel Point. The giant green anemone is considered to be a cold water species. But as a result of rising sea surface temperatures, this species, and potentially many other cold water species, could disappear or decrease in abundance at sites within its range. This also includes Monterey Bay. The next southern species we're going to be looking at is the pink acorn barnacle. Here's a graph showing northern and southern range limits for various intertidal species on the California coast from data that was collected in the 1970s. The red bars indicate northern range limits for southern species. So for bar number 9, that indicates the distribution of the pink acorn barnacle in the 1970s, where its range extended from Baja California to Point Arena. Now you can see that there's a darker red bar that extends from that distribution line that indicates the geographic range expansion to current poleward boundaries scientists have observed up to year 2015. So now you can see that the pink acorn barnacle's distribution has now extended past Point Arena to Cape Mendocino. Limpet's distribution range is generally from Baja California to San Francisco. Limpets are scarcely found north of its San Francisco northern limit. However, scientists have now been observing limpets on the Oregon and Washington coasts. Hopkins rose nudibranchs are usually found only in Southern California, but now are regularly seen in Monterey Bay and have continued to migrate northward into San Francisco and Northern California, and they even have been spotted in Southern Oregon. The monitoring and study of southern species migration here on the California coast will continue to be an integral part of understanding how climate change is changing our coasts and finding ways to combat climate change to minimize its effect on rocky intertidal ecosystems. Thank you so much for joining me today, and remember, the next video in our climate change series will drop Tuesday, June 23rd at 11 a.m. on the Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History's Museum to You page.